I want to talk about the border today, but I want to do it in a way that shows you both sides. It's not going to take all morning, but I want to just show you something from both sides that I think the truth is somewhere in the middle. And I hope you'll bear with me because you'll have to sit through a little bit of this, lady.
Kamala's high crimes at the border. That's the
High crimes and misdemeanors, of course, is what you refer to the reasons for impeachment. It's a weird thing to say because no one is accusing Kamala Harris of a high crime or a misdemeanor, except for Laura Ingraham, apparently. Laura Ingraham, of course, is a right wing schlock. She's definitely just one of those biased news folk and media folk. Um, she keeps calling her, she just says Kamala, and it's so demeaning, just calling a presidential candidate by their first name while they lavish, oh, President Trump, oh, let me lick your boots. It's a very bizarre thing that they do over there at Fox News.
the focus of tonight's angle. So as I said, she's hitting the border, hoping to turn the page on her reputation as an open border zealot. But instead, the book was open.
Turn the page as an open border zealot. A zealot, of course, is someone who is totally crazy about their religion. I never heard of this either. Turn the page is funny because that is her. It's nice, that's pretty good. Turn the page because Kamala Harris's campaign wants to turn the page. That's kind of their slogan. So turn the page on her reputation as an open border zealot. I don't know any open border zealots except for people like maybe me. Maybe I'm as open border. I might be an open border zealot, but I do not think Kamala Harris is one, even a tiny little bit.
To reveal the stomach-churning truth about the criminal element she welcomed in. In response to a congressional request for information, ICE revealed that more than 13,000 illegal aliens convicted of murder.
Okay, as you can see, acting ICE Director Patrick Lech-Leitner letter to Representative Tony Gonzalez, Republican from Texas. So they put their source on here. So take all these numbers with a grain of salt. I don't really believe that ICE reveals migrant offenders are roaming our country, non-citizens, it says. Non-citizens. That doesn't mean they're here illegally. I know a lot of people who are here legally who are non-citizens. Tons of people living in America legally are non-citizens.
Are now in the United States. Oh, and they're not in custody.
Oh.
More than 1,800 have been accused of murder as well.
You can't just have everyone in custody. Even if all these numbers are true, what do you expect? What do you expect anybody to do about it?
Nearly 16,000 have been convicted of sexual assault. But the Harris campaign is out with a new ad celebrating her border cred.
Kamala Harris.
It's interesting because those numbers. Let's just say they're true. I don't believe them, but let's say they're true. If we're talking 11 million American migrants are living within these borders, 11 million, 16,000 ain't a lot of people. It's just not a lot. That's a very small percentage that we're talking about. The 16,000 murderers accused, convicted. I mean, these stomach-churning revelations. Well, I think all of these numbers are inflated, especially since they say it's about 11 million. The Republicans will tell you it's like 50 million Americans. They're all illegals, and we don't have that many illegal aliens here. And even if we did, let's say we had 50 million, like they say, or even 11 million. 16,000 is not a high percentage.
Has never backed down from a challenge. She put cartel members and drug traffickers behind bars, and she will secure our border.
Yes, someone got paid huge money to produce that ad.
Someone got paid huge money to pay to do your makeup, lady. I mean, there's lots of money going around for this whole thing. Yeah, I mean, those are just the facts. She was the attorney general for the state of California, and then she was the DA for the city of San Francisco, you would be in those positions, just factually speaking, fighting cartels. Even the sheriffs of places like Los Angeles are fighting international drug cartels because those are the bad guys they're trying to round up mostly. I mean, the sheriff also still deals with, and so does the DA and everybody else. They still deal with the like normal criminals, but a lot of stuff that they do these days is breaking up international cartels.
They really think Americans are that stupid. Yeah, that's what they think. Now, her role as California's AG mostly involves state level crimes, not big cartel cases. And
State level crimes in California, in case you haven't heard, are big state level crimes. We have the busiest border crossing in the world in California, busiest in the world. I think she knows a little bit about, international state level crime.
And News Nation notes that her claims about jailing gang members for cross-border smuggling also seems inflated because her cases mostly involve local drug offenses, not international smuggling.
Local drug offenses in California are drug smuggling cases because we have the busiest border crossing in America, in the world. So, yes, when you are doing state level shit in California, you're talking about international shit because of our border. That's and our ports, by the way, not just our border, but because of our ports. Massive ports coming out of China, massive port of entry through the southern border. This is not brain surgery. Either she's an idiot, Laura Ingraham, or she is purposely misrepresenting facts.
Operations. And in the Tucson sector where she's speaking today, under Harris and Biden, Customs Border Protection logged 1.2 million, as they call them, encounters since they took office. Now,
just in Tucson. So this is an interesting thing too. So I really like this because these numbers, let's just say they're all true. Tucson border sector encounters. And what that means is they're finding illegal people that could be counted more than once or whatever. But what the truth is that when you close one part of a border and you get really heavy handed on that side, people come on the other side. It's one of the major issues with making it so difficult in certain areas where it's safe. People try to cross the borders and now you have dead babies in the desert because you've made it more difficult to cross where it was easy. People are like water. They're going to take the path of least resistance. So if you block the easy spot, the path of least resistance, and it becomes more treacherous, if they don't just stop, they don't just stop coming. They're fleeing. So they're fleeing horrible situations someplace else. Guess what? They're going to cross the desert now and they're going to die. So yeah, in Tucson, where people are dying, it's one of those desert crossings. It's scary and it's sad, and they have a bigger problem than they used to. It's true.
Trump's 4 years in office, almost 1 million fewer came in, or 246,000.
In that area.
Bill Malusian will give us key details and the total numbers coming up. They're truly shocking. Now, this has already devastated cities and towns across America. And
can I just say, I just feel like this lady's not good at her job. Like they're truly, it's like, who gave this lady a job? Is she just the last woman standing over at Fox after all of those allegations that were going on over at that network? I mean, is she just the only one that will shill this hard? It's hard to imagine someone looks at this and goes, yeah, good job, Laura.
There's no other conclusion to draw except that Biden and Harris and Mayorkas conspired to intentionally subvert America's sovereignty and the rule of law. Look, they believe
America's sovereignty. What?
Are immoral. Oh, unless they're Ukraine's. They want
Oh, I like that. That borders are immoral unless they're Ukraine's. Of course, the Ukraine is an entirely different situation. See, the Russians aren't people fleeing sad situations where they are. They're soldiers marching on the country of Ukraine, trying to take it over. They want to destroy the Ukraine. They want to make it Russia. And every time in the world, if we allow might to make right and we allow large countries with all the power to just gobble up little countries, then we will never have a peaceful planet for humanity. This is something that is truly the American dream for international relations, the true American ideal for international relations. Whether or not we always follow it, that's a whole different thing. But our ideal is that might does not make right. You're not allowed to go to somebody else's country and take it. And we proved that when we fought Iraq, when they came in to Kuwait. And then we liberated Kuwait and we went home. Mission accomplished. Well, that was George H.W. Bush. That was a long time ago. So this whole Ukraine, what's really funny about this lady's pro-Russia. Like, how are you pro-Putin? The guy that uses rape as a weapon and murders babies, throws press agents, people like you out the window? Lady, you're on the wrong side.
An unending torrent of cheap labor flooding into the United States. And this is key, they want to change the electorate. Yeah, Elon Musk is right.
Elon Musk is right. Yes, we want to change the electorate by allowing people who can't vote into the country to work in farms and slaughterhouses. This is torrents of cheap labor. What kind of jobs do you think these cheap laborers are doing? Because I've been all around America, Laura, and I'm telling you, where they're working are the fields. They're working in the fields. They're working in the slaughterhouses. They're working anywhere people like you won't. That's what that is. A torrent of cheap labor. You like cheap hamburgers, right? You can't have that without cheap labor.
Now, if this isn't impeachable conduct, I don't know what is. And I said this years ago, by the way. How is this not a high crime? High crimes and misdemeanors? Americans are dying because of these policies. And remember back in 2019, Democrats impeached Donald Trump.
Of course, no American is dying because of any policy. This is all just hyperbole. But this idea that it's a high crime or misdemeanor is really funny. And she's going to compare it to the impeachment of Donald J. Trump. Let's see what she says about the impeachment of Donald Trump.
Trump, based on what he said on a phone call with Zelensky. Now, Democrats spent countless man hours.
A phone call with Zelensky. This lady really hates the Ukraine, huh? He called Zelensky and said that if Zelensky couldn't give him dirt on his political opponent, that he would withdraw military and financial support of the Ukraine, meaning letting Russia move in. Why do you think Russia attacked the Ukraine? Because he could tell that American support was wavering because of idiots like him, like Donald Trump, who did commit a crime. He committed a crime. There's no doubt about that. He just wasn't convicted by his own party. The only person who voted to convict on his own party was Mitt Romney, because Mitt Romney is the only Republican left with integrity somehow.
Untold amounts of taxpayer money on a sham proceeding meant to hobble his presidency and affect the campaign. And the catalyst, let's not forget, were Ukrainian apologists working in the White House.
Ukrainian apologists.
Joe and Kamala.
Lieutenant Colonel. Lieutenant Colonel answers to the president. That guy, he's a Ukrainian apologist. He's an American serviceman. How dare you? This is everything she does is so anti-American. It really is laughable that she tries to take this high ground of, oh yes, the border and our sovereignty that I care about.
Fling open our borders to millions of foreigners. They fast-track them.
Foreigners? What a nasty word. Foreigner. Ew.
Into our communities. They destroy local cultures. They strain already strained budgets.
Local cultures. What does that mean? They destroy local cultures. Dog whistle much? She means white people. She says it destroys local culture. Our neighborhoods aren't looking as white anymore in certain parts of the country.
And all along, we find out They've tried to hide the truth about the criminals that they allowed to walk right in and brutalize us. Again, I ask, how is that not a high crime in and of itself?
All I see is just, okay, so there's crime. I love it. It's just, this is footage of criminal activity, so it must be these foreigners.
The families of the victims who Biden and Harris have left behind probably have another word for this. I would imagine the word treason is on their mind.
Treason? Do you know what treason even means? Jesus Christ, lady. Treason. Treason is what Donald J. Trump did when he incited a riot at the Capitol building in order to overthrow the government of the United States because he didn't like the results of an election. That's treason.
Now look at these faces.
Look at these faces. They're brown. Don't you know that brown people? Oh, God. It's just pure racist shit. It's hilarious that U.S. nationalists are pro-Russia now. Yeah, U.S. white nationalists are pro-Putin now. It just shows you how easily they are, how easily it is really 1984 Big Brother changing the enemy in the middle of a war.
They've been arrested for everything from rape, murder,
These guys?
carjacking, robbery.
Look at this. Illegals are killing our kids. Illegals are killing our kids is the chyron on Fox News. This is what people across America see. If you want to know why Americans are losing their shit and are willing to follow Donald Trump into the apocalypse, it's this right here. Illegals are killing. If you had this on silent at a bar in Tennessee and no one's really watching, and you just saw this, no sound, what do you think they would think? Illegals are killing our kids.
Domestic assault, DWI.
Oh my God, they drive drunk? Ugh, DWI. Oh, gee whiz. I know it's a problem and I'm really against DWI, but you probably have a DWI. Donald Trump definitely. Actually, you know who did? George W. Bush literally did have a DWI. You know who else did? Dick Cheney. All these guys have DWIs. You know why? Because people get drunk, they think that they can drive, and they get nicked. They get pinched by the cops.
None of them should have been here. And Harris's empty border rhetoric tonight does nothing to change the suffering endured by these families.
The horrors that my daughter suffered. And it's because of these open borders. They are nothing but...
Okay, again, the borders are not open. It's just not true. Go to the border. Have you been to the border of the United States? I have many, many times. Not open. It takes you hours and hours as a citizen just to pass over the border because they're checking every asshole who comes in. It is not an open border. Just not true. Go there and see.
Monsters who are predators, and those are the kind of individuals that we so openly let in this country.
Oh, take my word for it. I'm a victim. Yeah, I know. It does suck. I'm sure it would suck if someone that you loved was killed. And it would suck even more if you found out that they were here illegally. Yes, that would suck. No doubt about it. But that's not how you write policy, dumbasses. Parading these people and using them as props is an embarrassment. It's unfathomable. It truly is immoral to use these families who have actually been affected negatively by other people. You could say about anything. You could do the same thing and say blacks are committing crimes. Now here are some people crying whose families were killed by black people. This is Hitler type shit. Jews are the worst. They're poisoning our blood. Here is a family right here crying. They're crying because the Jews don't you want to help them? How dare you not want to help our good Germans? DWI, it's driving while intoxicated. usually people do call it DUI, which is driving under the influence. It really depends on what part of the country you're from. It's either DWI or DUI. I usually call it a DUI because I'm from California, but other people call it DWI because I think in certain states they call it DWI, but it means driving while intoxicated.
I believe the Biden-Harris administration open border policies are responsible for the death of my daughter.
Joe Biden, Kamala
What open border policy?
Harris, and every Democrat who supports these open border policies are complicit in the deaths of 300,000 innocent Americans, including my son, Weston.
300,000 innocent Americans have been killed? How is that possible? 300,000? These numbers, where are you getting this? 300,000 innocent Americans have been killed because of Kamala Harris's open border policy. I'd like to remind everybody that, and Laura Ingraham will do her. She's a good journalist. I hope she brings up the fact that the border bill that was crushed by Donald Trump and his friends is why we haven't strengthened our border. But let's see.
Now, it took ICE, by the way, about 6 months to get back to Congressman Gonzalez when he requested this information. But Harris has been so intent on keeping this out of the news that she won't even speak to her own administration's border chief. And she didn't speak to the last Border Patrol chief either.
I've never had one conversation with the president or the vice president for that matter. And so I was the chief of the Border Patrol. I commanded 21,000 people. That's a problem.
It is a problem that you commanded 21,000 people. That's true.
But pretending there's not a crisis of your own making.
Kamala's America. Murders and rapists run wild.
Is not a strategy, Madam Vice President. It's a tacit admission of failure. The Border Patrol, by the way, it doesn't really need more resources. What it needs is a president who believes that it's the fundamental duty, really the first duty of a president, to secure.
It doesn't need more resources. It just needs a president who believes
our borders.
Oh my God.
And her actions over the past 3.5 years, that's all we need to know about her belief in our system, in our sovereignty.
In our system, in our sovereignty. Sovereignty? Is our sovereignty under attack? I last time I checked, I don't think Mexico is trying to take us over. Or Venezuela. Venezuela's taking us over. Changing the electorate. Elon Musk is right.
If stopping fentanyl at the border was a priority, other nations would have been
Oh no, not the fentanyl.
put on notice by Kamala Harris.
Where's the fentanyl coming from? China. China's where the fentanyl's coming from. God damn it. You think they're cooking it up in Mexico? Most of the fentanyl is coming from China. It's coming because it's cheaper to make than heroin. And it kind of works like heroin.
Mexico would have been warned of dire trade consequences as they were under Trump. If it didn't, like stopping human trafficking, is that a priority for her? If they really cared about children that they now use as pawns, they would have kept Remain in Mexico in place. But instead, on day one, Joe and Kamala dismantled every effective Trump border policy that was in place.
Really? Really, they did? Because I don't think that they did it at all. They left most of it in place. Not much has changed at the border. It's just that you like talking about it during election year.
And that kept America safe. And by the way, I got to say this again. The idiotic so-called
the idiotic bipartisan border bill. There we go. $118 billion border bill, as GOPs call it, dead in the House. She's calling it idiotic because the border doesn't need more resources. It needs a president who believes in a border.
Partisan border bill that Jim Langford and company tried to ram through. That died in the Senate, and Harris loves to cite this.
Yeah.
It was such a farce that its only sponsors released it on, 48 hours notice. It was
Common practice.
370 pages long, by the way.
370 pages is not long. You can read that in about, a good reader could read that in about 4 hours, but a congressperson or a senator, if this is an important thing, if this is really important to you, then 375 pages is not hard to read. Also, you have staffers. That's what the staffers are for. You pay people who are, with law degrees and shit. You pay them to read it for you. You skim it too. You get an idea of what's on the bill, and then you vote. That's how governing works. This isn't. that's just how it works in America. That's nothing new at all. Zero new there.
Right before the vote, they finally released the text. And all you need to know about that legislation, again, that Kamala Harris will cite, is it gave CBP a paltry $7 billion in additional funding. Ukraine got $60 billion in the so-called border bill.
Yeah, 60 billion for the Ukraine because they need bombs. You moron. They need tanks. They need guns. That's what they need. Plus, we froze the assets of Russians in order to give it to them. It wasn't like the taxpayers paid foot that entire bill.
So Americans are tired of butt-covering politicians in both parties.
Butt-covering politicians in both parties? Wait a second. Are we going to get fair and balanced coverage?
Know that. They want solutions. And in stark contrast to Harris's last-minute border choreography that we're going to watch tonight, Donald Trump is appealing to the pragmatic core of American voters.
Pragmatic core? Like putting more money at the border? No, they don't need more resources. They just need more thoughts and prayers.
I will send Congress a bill to ban sanctuary cities in the first day that I become president. I will end catch and release, and I will remain in Mexico. We will seal the border. We will stop the invasion, and we will begin the largest deportation of criminals.
Okay, so he's going to go into why he wants to seal the border with a wall. He wants to say that if you're seeking asylum, stay in Mexico while it's happening, because we don't want you here. Even though it's literally in our Constitution to accept asylum seekers. He wants to get rid of the birthright citizenship. He wants to get rid of that. It's pretty nasty shit what Donald Trump is suggesting. He's talking about people going door to door and kicking them out of their houses.
And he will. Immigration should be to our national benefit. It should not be used as a political strategy to juice the voter rolls or as a source of cheap labor to drive down American wages.
Who do you think is paying? Who do you think wants the cheap labor, Laura? Laura, who do you think wants the cheap labor? The big corporations. You think that like mom and pops that can they're so afraid because that's who gets busted usually. People who have like nannies with their illegal immigrant nannies. Oh my God, Bartleby. This is like Laura Ingraham is such a weird shill for that movement, for the MAGA movement, that it's quite frightening that's who they've chosen. That's who people are watching. Rapists running wild. Holy crap, Bartleby. It's holy shit, America. I wonder how much her bank account gets padded after diatribes like that. Quite a bit. But let's see the other side, huh? Let's watch this next video. All right, so the next one is, I think, really great too, because I want to show the other side. It's good to show the other side, all right? You got to show Audi Anderum Partum. You know what I'm saying? Here we go.
More and more of our country's information ecosystem has been transformed into a machine that takes what Donald Trump says and pushes it out as the truth. And that means that
We just witnessed that. Now, this is MSNBC, often cited as the polar opposite of Fox News. So we just saw that MAGA lies are pushed out to the other side. Let's see what this other side says.
Trump can get away with blatant lies like this one.
Make up some lies, like she said about the border bill that Trump stopped. Let me tell you, number one, I didn't stop it.
That was Donald Trump today in Michigan, telling a rally that he did not stop the bipartisan immigration bill that was drafted earlier.
It's so funny because he said he didn't stop it, but Laura Ingraham is saying it was horrible and it should have been stopped. So which one is it? Laura Ingraham says it was a horrible bill and Donald Trump did a great job by stopping it. But he says he didn't stop it. It wasn't him that stopped it at all.
This year. Now, that may sound like a small detail, but because polls show immigration is a top issue for voters this year, and because Trump is trying to pin the current status of our country's immigration system on Vice President Harris, Whether or not Trump killed something that would have addressed immigration in a big way is a key detail here. And the truth is, he did. He did kill it.
There you go.
But don't just take my word for it.
Everybody who comes on this floor and says our
There you go. Lindsey Graham, who of course is a big Trump fan. This is Trump's boy. So what's he got to say?
border's broken, we should do something about it. You're absolutely right. And unfortunately, we didn't get there. President Trump opposed a Senate bill. We couldn't find a better way forward.
President Trump said, don't fix anything during the presidential election. It's the single biggest issue during the election. Don't resolve this.
Another Republican from Oklahoma also saying, don't solve the problem.
Just a couple of months ago, Republican senators were loud and proud about the fact that it was Donald Trump who killed that bipartisan immigration bill. And you know who else was loud and proud about it? Donald Trump.
There is zero chance I will support this horrible open borders betrayal of America. It's not going to happen. I noticed that, and I'll fight it all the way. I noticed a lot of the senators.
His whole demeanor now is like kind of like a gnawing zombie at this point. He's barely there. He's practically dead. Are you sure he wasn't replaced? Maybe he wasn't shot in the ear at all. Maybe he's replaced by an automaton.
A lot of the senators are trying.
Like he looks lost. He's 80-year-old man. Let him go to sleep. Get a job as a greeter at Walmart.
To say respectfully, they're blaming it on me. I said, that's okay. Please blame it on me. Please.
Blame it on me, please. But of course, now that particular detail is complicating Trump's presidential campaign, he is rewriting history in front of our eyes. And to a huge swath of the country, he will probably get away with it. Meanwhile, back on Earth One, in reality, today, Vice President
Earth One, back on Earth One, back in this dimension.
President Harris made a trip to Douglas, Arizona, to the U.S.-Mexico border, where she did her best to tell the truth about Donald Trump.
It was the strongest border security bill we have seen in decades.
Can I just say, every time people put the stars and stripes behind them like this, doesn't it look like she's talking at a circus? Like, I'm sorry, she looks like she's talking in front of a circus camp, like a circus tent. Like I don't know. Maybe am I the only person that sees that? The stars and stripes, the stripes should be going this way. If you put them like this, it looks like you're in front of a circus tent. Like, I know it seems like we're living in a circus at this point, but I don't know. Like, get the optics right. You know what I'm saying?
It was endorsed by the Border Patrol Union, and it should be in effect today, producing results in real time right now for our country.
I don't even like the border bill. I read most of the border bill, and a lot of it's like putting more jackboots at the border and making it harder for people to come in who are running away from cartels and people who are afraid for their lives and putting kids in cages. I don't even like the border bill. But these two politicians say they want to do it, but only one stopped it from happening. So to call her an open border, the open border policy, and cry about it is just disingenuous. It's a lie. And it really is tragic that people are falling for it. Like, I don't even like her plan for the border, but don't say it's an open border policy. And also, it's the same plan that Donald Trump has. It's the same goddamn plan.
But Donald Trump tanked it. He picked up the phone and called some friends in Congress and said, stop the bill.
Well, it's not exactly the same plan. Let me take a little bit of the back. Kamala Harris is not saying that she wants to go from door to door to kick out people with machine guns. That's not her thing. But
you see, he prefers to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem.
Which version of this story will more of the American public believe?
That's the question today. Which version will you believe? That is the question, right? It really is just a war of propaganda now. It's not really talking about the issue at all. Neither did you hear anyone talk about what they what the real policy should be? The only thing I heard was Laura Ingraham saying that she doesn't think that billions of dollars being spent at the border is a good idea, but she wants a president that just believes in strong borders, which is fucking bonkers. But here we go here saying that what's the policy they're pitching? I guess Donald Trump wants to kick everybody out. Like, let's round them all up, put them in camps, and then deport them. But oh Bartleby, oh humanity.